If you've ever felt like you were meant for more, but you've been scared to start a business because you didn't want to fail, this video is for you. Because what stops most people isn't motivation. It's choosing the wrong kind of business to bet on. So in this video, I want to show you that starting something simple, even boring, gives you a much better chance of actually succeeding. And I want to explain this through a mistake I made for years. For a long time, my life ran in two directions at the same time. On one side, I was always trying to build a business out of ideas that I thought were innovative because I wanted something of my own. Some of them made a little money, and a couple made just enough money to pay the bills, but not enough to feel free. But ultimately, they all failed. And on the other side, there were jobs. Not because I wanted a career there, and I certainly didn't love that work. I only worked there because I needed income. But every job brought the same purpose: to buy time while I was trying to make my business work. And that part matters because I wasn't drifting, and I wasn't sitting around waiting for something to happen. I was always building, but nothing had broken through yet. And that creates a heavy kind of pressure because you're not just working, you're waiting. Waiting for the day that your business finally makes enough money. Waiting for the moment that you can quit your job and say, okay, this is real now. Some months felt kind of close, and other months felt like I was starting all over. And that messes with your head. Because now the question isn't, can I work hard? It's, is this ever going to work? That's where the fear really came from. Not the fear of effort, and not the fear of long hours. Fear of finding out that all the belief and all the hope might not turn into the future I imagined. Fear of realizing that maybe I wasn't going to be as successful as I thought. That maybe the life I pictured for myself wasn't going to happen. And when you care deeply about building something of your own, that thought is scary. Because if it doesn't work, then what does it say about you? That fear showed up most clearly in job interviews, sitting across from someone, answering their questions, explaining my experience, and realizing something very clearly. I didn't want to be asking for a job, I wanted to be creating one. I didn't want my income limited by a salary, I wanted my effort to matter. That's what I mean when I say I felt like I was on the wrong side of the desk. Not better than anyone, just in the wrong role. And if you've ever felt like that, like you're capable of more, but stuck working inside someone else's plan, then you know how uncomfortable that feeling is. And once you really feel it, it's hard to ignore. That pressure doesn't only come from inside, it comes from the people closest to you. At my lowest point, I was living at my sister's house during the first year and a half of the pandemic, not because I wanted to. I had just lost my job, my money was tight, and I couldn't risk signing a lease without steady income. This was early on in the pandemic. Businesses were shutting down, nobody was hiring, and everything felt uncertain. And I was still trying to make my business work. I was selling those breakfast drinks that I created, trying to push things forward. But from the outside, it didn't look like progress. It looked unstable. And that's when the comments started. Not mean ones, but practical ones. Like, why don't you just get a job? Or you should try to start a real career. My sister used to say, maybe you should go to law school. You can always try this again later. And I didn't think she was trying to hurt me. I just think she didn't believe in me anymore. She didn't think I could do it. And she was scared for me. And that's where the shame creeps in. Because now it's not just about money. It's about how you look. Living in someone else's house. Trying to explain what you're working on. Feeling behind, especially behind all your friends who played it safe and had money. 401ks, stock portfolios. I didn't have any of that. So when people asked, how's it going? The answer was always the same. Good. Things are moving. Can't complain. Even when that wasn't true. I'd post things online that made it look like I was doing well, not to show off, but to protect myself. Because saying it's not working yet felt like I was saying I failed. And holding belief inside while everyone around you doubts you is exhausting. And looking back at it now, I see the real problem clearly. The problem was never ambition. The problem was what I was aiming the ambition at. Literally every idea I chased had the same issues. It took too long to make money. There was no clear path, and too many things had to go right. I was choosing businesses where success was possible, but totally unlikely. And my thinking was kind of marred because I was fascinated by all those tech startups that didn't make money for a while, but kept fueling growth by investors. But trying to create something big and innovative made me lose sight of simple business principles like making a profit. And while I was chasing those hard ideas, simple businesses were quietly working. Not because they were exciting, but because they solved basic problems for a lot of people every single day. That's when everything changed, because I stopped asking, what's the best idea I can build? And started asking, what's the simplest way to make steady income? Not someday, now. And once I looked at business that way, things finally clicked. And I know that sounds obvious, but when you're focused on building an idea you have, you lose sight of actually making money sometimes. And then I realized something most people never hear. You don't need a big idea to win. You need a simple business that works. One that people already need, people already pay for, and doesn't care how impressive you sound. Because that realization didn't lower my standards. It lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. And once I understood that, a lot of things started to make more sense. I realized that most of the stress I felt didn't come from working hard. It came from working on things that took too long to pay off. And when money is far away, doubt has a lot of time to grow. That's why simple businesses matter so much. They don't just make money faster, they make progress easier to see. And when you can see progress, you can breathe. You can stop guessing. You can stop explaining yourself. You stop wondering if you're being irresponsible. Because most people don't quit because they're lazy. They quit because they choose the path that didn't give them feedback soon enough. No money coming in, no clear wins, no proof that the effort is turning into real results. That wears people down. Simple, boring businesses fix that. They give you signals early. A customer books, money comes in, work gets done. You don't need to imagine success, you can see it. And once I saw that, I stopped trying to impress everyone. I stopped chasing ideas that sounded smart. I stopped worrying about whether something looked exciting on the outside. I started caring about one thing only. Does this solve a real problem that lots of people already have? Because when you solve a real problem for a lot of people, you don't need to convince anyone. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need confidence. And you don't need permission. You just need to show up and do the work. And here's the part I really wanted you to hear. If you've been scared to start because you didn't want to fail, the fear isn't telling you to quit. It's telling you to choose better. To choose a path where your effort has a higher chance of paying off. To choose something simple enough that you don't have to be perfect. You don't need to give up on an idea of building something of your own. You just need to stop making it harder than it has to be. If this video helped you see that more clearly, then the next question is obvious. What kind of simple business actually works? What does that look like in real life? And how do you avoid making the same mistake I did? That's exactly what I walk you through in the next video. I'll show you the simplest business model I've ever seen actually work and why it gives regular people a real shot at succeeding. Watch this next.